What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update for Akiza's Black Rose Dragon. That's right, so what I've decided to do is this will be a Genesys update. Now the points total is 90 points as it currently stands, and the reason I thought I'd do it as Genesys is because there are some minor changes you can do to make it modern. In doing so you just get to add a little bit more power, meaning cards like Bill's the Diabolical Dragon I think could be quite a nice introduction or quite a nice use if you were to be playing this in modern against cards like Mitsurugi's. But I thought I'd go with Genesys as I haven't done a Genesys profile update for a long time, and this is my main Genesys deck that I like to utilise. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss any more upcoming content. Taking you straight through the Red Rose Dragon, or the Rose Dragon monsters themselves, you're going to be maxing out on all of them. Now, you don't have to. You can actually play White Rose Dragon at like 2 if you kind of wanted to. But the idea is that your Red Rose and your White Rose don't really do a lot on their own, and the White Rose doesn't list Black Rose Dragon, which is really annoying. Your ideal starter for the deck will be your Rox Rose Dragon. This one will then work its way into the Black Rose Garden. In doing so, that then works you into the extender in the form of the White Rose Dragon, and then that's how you're going to be able to synchro summon into the almighty, all-powerful Black Rose Dragon itself. So each of them have their utilities. Each of them get benefits when they're used as synchro material. The reason you want to max out on the White Rose as opposed to anything else is that White Rose can extend itself to the field as long as you control a White Rose Dragon a Rose Dragon monster, or I believe it is a plant monster. So you can try a Dragon type or a plant tuner, you get special on it from the hand. So it still acts as an extender. It is your level 4 monster, which is a non-tuner, which is also quite important. But you kind of get a bit more flexibility depending on what you want to go for. The idea is you want to start with Rox Rose. Rox Rose grabs you your Black Rose Garden. Black Rose Garden can then utilize to get you into the next piece of the puzzle, because this lets you add any Rose Dragon monster, which is a great success. And that could be your White Rose. You extend with your White Rose, and then that's when you can start to make your synchro summoning plays. Then playing 2 Basil Rose Shoot and the 1 Frozen Rose. So obviously Red Rose can get you access to Frozen Rose, and then your Rox Rose will get you to your Basil Rose Shoots. The benefits of stuff like this is I quite like the idea of Frozen Rose, that if you send a face-up monster you control to the graveyard, and then you apply the effects depending on its type during the end phase it had on the field. So if it's a plant, during the end phase of this turn you get to draw 2 cards, discard 1. Now in this particular version, we play a lot of hand interactions. The benefit of this one is that the Black Rose Garden turns all of the monsters on the field into plants. So you're going to be able to resolve that effect quite consistently. The secondary effect of being able to send a non-plant to add a level 4 or lower plant monster from the deck to the hand can also still be quite useful as well. And in doing so, that's then going to give you a little bit more options depending on what you want to try and get to. But you do need to start with a plant monster on the field. And in order to do that, the plant monster you're going to start with is the Vengeful Witch. Now, this is also an extender, so again, you don't really want to be starting it as your normal summon, but the idea behind this one, as long as you control a Black Rose Dragon or a monster that mentions it, so not White Rose Dragon, really annoyingly, you get to special summon this card from the hand. On top of that as well, is if it is in the grave, you get to discard a card to special summon a plant monster with 1500 or less defense from the deck. You can't special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except Synchros, which is absolutely fine because we're in Genesys anyway. The monster you're going to want to summon in this is Twilight Rose Black Knight. You can play this at 2 if you wanted to. I ultimately decided to play the Frozen Rose, and I also decided to play a very small package of the Rose Princess as 2 instead of playing a second one of this. You can, it's absolutely fine. But if you do hard see it, it can still act as a starter, because in doing so, if this card is normal or special, you get to special summon a Black Rose Dragon or a level 4 or lower plant monster from the grave. You do negate its effects, but that doesn't really make much of a difference anyway. And this is one that can manipulate levels to get you into level 6s should you need to. Then I am on the Supe Duskwalker. I quite like this as an option. You don't have to play it. You can open up 4 cards in your main deck should you wish. But the idea is that Supai plus the ability, or your Duskwalker, to discard any card can get you into your Rage Rose Witch. Yes, you do need a little bit more than just Rage Rose Witch, but this is one of the ones that doesn't need to use your normal summon. It can put a Rose Dragon monster in the graveyard that can be revived for the Twilight Knight if you wanted to. It can also put in the Vengeful Witch to the graveyard and still give you a bit of a benefit from that one. So there's a lot more that you can do that it could be really, really helpful for. Then we've got the 1 Spore, the Fairy Seed. You do have a bit of space if you wanted to, because there are cards in the extra deck like Chaos Angel and the FA Dawn Dragster that take up 20 points apiece. So with the extra 10 points that you currently do have, I would advise you to kind of look at the ability of putting Glow Up Bulb in here. It does require 21 points, which means you need to sacrifice the Dawn Dragster or the Chaos Angel, which isn't the end of the world, because to sub out your Chaos Angel, you could go for a Gen X return 0, or you can go for a Bestial Dispatter, which will do the exact same job, give or take a little bit of edge for 10 points less. So it's up to you which one you'd want to go down. It kind of comes down to if you want to free up those points. I went with Chaos Angel just because the blanket protection on all synchros is pretty insane. So that can make it very, very important. And when I doesn't mean protection, it means obviously just being able to wall up is pretty important. Then for the other extenders, we play 2 Rose Princess and the 1 White Rose. So the idea behind this one is you can discard the Rose Princess to grab your White Rose, or you can utilize the Princess as long as your opponent controls a monster, and only they control a monster to special summon it from the hand to the field. And it can be very, very useful for both of these cards in your kind of grind state, but also just being able to consistently get you pieces that you might need. Moving on to the other cards I like to play, I still personally like to play Revolution Synchron. Now, what I like about this deck is the fact that it matters is I can just get a level 4 non-tuner on the field, and then I can use Revolution Synchron in the hand to synchro into Black Rose Dragon, or I can synchro into any level 7 dragon I want to, and then use its graveyard effect to go into a Crystal Wing. Crystal Wing in the Genesys format, the fact it's 0 points is actually really, really like insane to think of, but it's just so incredibly important and very, very powerful in this kind of format that being able to do it so easily is well worth it in my opinion. Then we've got 3 Mulchumi Fuelos. Like going second, you need to have one of the best cards to kind of give you as much advantage as possible, and that's where Fuelos comes into play. We've then got 3 DD Crow. I don't mind this being in the main deck. It's really a toss-up between your DD Crows in the main deck, Ghost Spells if you want to be putting them in, or you can also consider Nibiru the Primal Beings. There's kind of something you can consider what you'd want to main and what you'd want to side, and that'll really come down to the environment that you're playing at. Then for the final few cards, I am playing 3 Forbidden Chalice, and I am also main decking 2 Dark Rule No More. Now, again, this is a bit of indecisiveness on my behalf. This is whether I wanted to have the 2 Nibirus in this place that are currently in the side deck, or if I wanted to have Dark Rule No Mores. And I quite like the idea that in the current format that we're in with Genesys, being able to go Dark Rule No More, going like in your like first duel, could really catch your opponent off guard. And they're like, oh, whoa, you're maining that card. That's pretty insane. And then you just go Black Rose and completely clear the field without any retaliation. So it was something that I thought I'd consider. I'm not completely set on it yet. Again, like I've already mentioned, these 2 can come out, 2 Nibirus go in, and these settle very nicely in the side deck. So that's it for the entire main deck. Now to take you through the extra deck, and then I'll take you through the side deck, which encompasses the entire 90 points already mentioned. So for the extra deck, we are playing 2 Black Rose Dragon. I'm actually quite fond of the chibi artwork. I really wish this got a Starlight Rare, would have been really kind of cool, but you know, Black Rose Dragon is Black Rose Dragon. I do also quite like the idea of playing the 1 Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. I just like the idea that you're either going to play this or you're going to play Cully Belt, and this is your other level 7. If you don't want to nuke the entire field, you could just very easily go into Moonlight and then target return. Could be quite useful unless you want to destroy it, and then you'd consider Cully Belt instead. They do the exact same job. The only benefit is that this is a Black Rose monster as opposed to Cully Belt. Then the one that did get a Starlight is 2 Bramble Rose Dragon. Absolutely beautiful card, absolutely amazing card in general as well. Just puts in a lot of work for the format and just a lot of work for the Rose Dragon deck. The fact that it can tag itself out to get you Black Rose Dragon during your opponent's turn, and you're constantly going to be chipping away at your opponent's life points as you do that, is incredibly insane. I've kind of jumped all over the place, but the final Black Rose Dragon monster is going to be your Ruddy Rose. Now this is the other level 10 that you can consider. So we play 2 level 10s in here. Now you're either going to play Genex Return 0, Ruddy Rose, Chaos Angel, or Bestial Dispatter, and you're kind of going to choose which ones of those you prefer in the environment you're going to, and then adapt it to your personal preference. Then got 2 Rage Rose Witch. Again, absolutely love how beautiful this card looks as well. Really does shine, and the artwork's really, really amazing. And this is another one of the great brand new supports we've got in Doom of Dimension for this deck. And it kind of just steps it up another level. This being able to send a monster from the extra deck as well. The 2 targets you're going to want to send is either going to be your Licorice, the Lily Reaper, or you're going to be sending your Garden Rose Maiden. I personally more times than not send the Garden Rose Maiden, but you can also send the Lily Reaper, and this just gives you a bit of a nice little bit of a benefit that if your opponent takes burn damage, you can banish this from the graveyard and then send one of your opponent's monsters. So to give you the exact text, so if your opponent takes effect damage, while this card's in the graveyard, etc. in damage state, you banish it and then send one monster on the field to the graveyard with attack less than or equal to the difference in your life points. Keeping in mind that by the time you trigger this effect, your opponent would have either burnt from the Black Rose Garden loads of times, or would have burnt from the Bramble Rose Dragon. You take the Bramble Rose Dragon out after its final bit of burn, and then that's where the Lily Reaper comes in and just goes, cool, send. The other 10 I've mentioned is the Chaos Angel. Can be quite costly. Some people might not think it's worth the 20 points. Absolutely fine. Sub it out. That's when Gen X goes in. That's when Bastille Dispatcher comes in. And then that's when you'd consider putting Glow Bulb as well into the main deck. For the other generics, before I get into the plants, you've got your Crystal Wings that I've previously mentioned and the FA Dawn Dragster. And then for the plants, we've got the one Queen of Thorns and we've got the one Perillis, the Empress of Blossoms. In a simplified game state and Genesys format, being able to get a Queen of the Thorns on the field is really, really annoying for your opponent to deal with, because each player must pay 1,000 life points to normal or special summon a non-plant monster from the hand. So this is something that you're going to want to... It's annoying that it comes from the hand, but that's where the normal summon comes from. But the benefit of being able to set this up quite early and then making your opponent constantly take these little bit of damage alongside the Bramble Rose starts to put a very powerful ticking clock on your opponent and starts to put them under a little bit of pressure. So they need to kind of get their plays moving so they don't burn out. And then if they haven't burnt out, you've got to remember as well that if you've kept your plays around, you can very easily control 2,400 damage just at the back of your Bramble Rose going into Black Rose Dragon, if not a little bit more, depending on how many plants you have in the grave. So your opponent is really going to be on edge, and they're going to be counting and be like, right, cool, I've got 8,000 life points, I can take Bramble 10 times and still have 2,000 life points left, and then they might overlook the Black Rose Garden or just even the general way that it can get there, and then you'll do it, and they'll be like, oh, that's the last 2,000 life points I had. So, moving on to the side deck. So for the side deck, I've got the last Dark Rule No More. Just going to put that one out there. Like I said, you're either going to side out the 2 Dark Rule No Mores in the main deck and you're going to put in 2 Nibirus. I just quite like the idea that I feel that more people will be prepared to play around Nibiru, less people will be prepared to play around Dark Rule No More. Free Kaijus, like, you need to get rid of those Omni-Negates, you need to get rid of Liger Dancers if people are still running around with them rampant in your environment. You have to have those direct out for those cards that will cause you issues. 3 Cosmic Cyclones can very easily be Twin Twisters, absolutely fine. And then the 3 Drown Lockbird replacement in 3 Mistaken Arrest. How is this 0 points and Drown Lockbird was 25 points? Don't get me wrong, I agree that Drown Lockbird's gone, thank you, or like less played. But Mistaken Arrest is just going to pretty much fill its space. Not as strong as Droll, but kind of does a job you need it to do. And then the final card I'm playing is 3 Gravity Collapse, just because of those abilities to be able to get Synchro Monsters on the field very easily, and then be able to use Gravity Collapse against your opponent to technically skip them to the end phase can be quite annoying. Not to mention that if they've already played into your Bramble Rose and they're like, yes, I finally have the out to your Bramble Rose, summon this monster to get that play going, you go, cool, Gravity Collapse, and they're going to be like, okay, and then there's going to be more than enough damage on the field left to swing for an attack. So that's pretty much it. 90 points, you've got 10 more points to play with to adapt it to your own personal preference. If you wanted to net deck this list and then adapt it, by all means, please do so. The changes that you'd be looking to make, personally, I think I'd be looking at a Beezle Rose, a Bills of the Diabolical Dragons, just because it can be very, very good in the Mitsurugi matchup. Then when you're looking at your side deck, you'd play like Drown Lockbirds, Mortuary Perulias, Full Losses, you name it. But because we're trying to focus on Genesys, I actually really quite like Black Rose in Genesys. This and Skull Servants are like my 2 favourite decks to be playing in Genesys right now. Yes, of course, you can play Radiance if you want to be doing insanely well. You can play Draco Towers. Like, you've got that ability to do so. If you're like going to an event, you're like, I'm going to top this event, then by all means, you can do so. But for this, I decided to go with Black Rose, and I really, really enjoy it. So, anyway, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully this has given you a bit of an idea and a bit of an update on the Genesys kind of side of it. It's actually great as well that at the time of recording this video, they did announce that there is going to be, alongside the UK Open, there's going to be a Genesys event as well, which is going to be really, really cool. Well, not alongside, but like the day after. So the Gamers Lodge are going to be hosting that after the UK Open. So it's going to be really cool to see the Genesys term out, because I really like Genesys at YCS Bologna. And I really like the retro playmats and everything else that was kind of with them. It kind of really takes you back a bit, and that's what Genesys is. It's a very nice, nostalgic, alongside Time Wizards formats, nostalgic formats. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.